Adelaja, says. So this student. Hello, everybody. And I sound a little bit another than is this today. Start Galen and this today. I think there's no good later. Bumi Benro Toyi Olobayo. Oh, I can't pronounce your name, oh. Robokome Agatha Sally Adai Morris Yamamoto Bemi David Daniel Adeogu Madabuko Keneshuku Kola David Samuel Adebayo Precious Oliver Holy Moses, what a name, Holy Moses, Grace Asor, Jude Beku, Adejumo Champion. Well, welcome everyone. Nice to see you. And here we go. So we are having a book review today with my cousin here, Gideon. Okay, Gideon. How are you today?
I'm fine, sir.
All right. The book we are going to be reviewing today is this book here, Problems, Your Shortcut to Prominence. So I'm sure you are aware. So what will you say about this book? Your first impression and your first emotions and your first feelings, about this one.
Well, when after reading the book, I actually asked myself this question: that then why is it that we still have a lot of problem in our world today? And I came to realize that we practically don't have any excuse for not giving solutions to the problem we face individually or collectively. So I now, from what I got in this book, it now gave me the understanding that every complex problem has a solution. The issue now is not the problem itself, is our mindset, is our understanding towards problem, and which we must change. We must have the right mindset, the right attitude towards problem.
You come from Nigeria, and
yes, sir.
You came here not long ago, so you are young in Europe. And many people also who are based in Europe, especially in Western Europe or anywhere in Europe, they don't know these things. And they don't know the information that are in this book. But now, after knowing the information that is in this book, how will you compare what is here, the attitude and the lessons of this book, to the reactions and attitude of people in Nigeria, where we come from?
Well,
and not just Nigeria, general place, what are the normal attitude to problems? Yes.
The normal attitude to problem is just that the fact that we just think that problems are too complex. Problems are unsurmountable. Like we just have the mindset that we should have avoided this problem, or this problem should have even come in the first place. So I've seen that the problem most of us face anywhere in the world is the fact that we actually don't see problems as an opportunity to give a solution to the world, but rather we just want to hide, or we would have just preferred not to even have the problem at all. So we see it as something, we see it as a taboo, like as something that shouldn't have happened. So this kind of self-love and selfish.
If we didn't ever expect problems to happen, it means that when they happen, we begin to panic.
Yes. And the first thing we see is fear. And I think
because we are not searching for problems. Actually, people have to read my next book, apart from this one, because one of my next books is called Hello, I'm Searching for Problems.
Wow.
That is a superior mentality.
Wow, I can't wait to also read that book also. Because the thing is that why I actually showed interest in reading this particular book, and the one I did the review, is the fact that as a Christian and as an African, as a Nigerian also, I see that these are the things, topics like this are the reason why most people fall victim of a lot of things, especially the problems and tragedy and things like this are what our African pastors, these are what they take advantage of. And even when they talk about those things, rather than them giving solution or practical steps to come out of problems, they rather promote fear and give us this kind of slavery mentality towards it, that, oh, we should have avoided this problem. We can revoke or we can rebuke it, rather than them teaching us how to face it and conquer it and discover the power that God has actually given to each and every one of us.
So this is a big departure from the normal understanding that we have. So what will you say? Problems, your shortcut to prominence. What will you say from the title? Yes, from the title. Actually, I wasn't too sure of what was going to be inside the book, because how can problem be someone's shortcut to prominence? Rather, we should be discussing on how to overcome, how to prevent problems. So why would problem be attached to prominence? Why would problem be attached to significance? To me, before I read the book, it was not just making any sense, and that was the reason why I had to read the book, because to me it was not just making any sense at all, because they are not two words that you can actually relate, connect. It doesn't, from my world where I grew up, it's not something I could actually connect. I never saw the connection between the two words, problems and prominence. I never saw the connection. I never saw the significance. I never saw that problem can actually make anyone to be significant. Rather, I think people are the way great people are today. I used to believe that great men are great because probably maybe they were brought up in a well-civilized society. They knew it better. They never had any challenges, or not as much as the kind of problem we face in Nigeria or in Africa. So I wasn't expecting anything significant from problem. Rather, I used to have the mindset that problem is problem, and problem was not just happen. We should just try as much as possible to be defensive or to avoid it or to hide from it. And based on some of my religious background also, that we pray against problem. We don't even see ourselves as problem solver, but rather we just want to tell God to take away if this stone, like the prayer Jesus Christ did, so that we just want to pray against it. We just want to try to avert or revoke problem. Wow, that is very, very interesting to hear. So actually, maybe that's the problem with many people who are seeing the book now. I'm sure a lot of people will not be able to connect. What do you mean? Problems, shortcut to prominence. But the thing you have explained is that there is, you didn't see the connection between problems and prominence. But I think what makes it worse is to even think that it's not just problems and prominence are not only connected, but that they are actually... It is actually the shortcut. How will you explain the shortcut part? How can problem not just be connected to prominence, but its problem is actually the shortcut to the prominence that you want?
Yeah, thank you, sir, for drawing my attention to the part that says the shortcut. Now, when I saw the word shortcut again, I was like, if we talk about problem, people nurse problem for years. So we are still nursing, we are still trying to come out of problem. And now, this is someone saying that it's a shortcut to prominence. How? Now, the word shortcut there, I now got to understand that if we can be early enough to give solution to any problem whatsoever, and you made it so clear in that book, one of your first words was the fact that most complex problems have a solution. Now, the way to giving a solution to any problem will automatically and without any reasonable doubt, we just elevate people in no time, because a solution giver or a problem solver will definitely arise or arrive at its destination at the fastest period. Like, we just see, like, for instance, now you get an illustration of the fact that most of the things, like the fact that education in Africa today is really becoming something we cannot even write anything about, like especially children's education. And you now making it clear that if any individual can just identify this thing and just provide quality education to the children that are already out of school, in no time, the world, the community, the world at large will get to know about this.
Yeah, so that problem, therefore, of the school children, just like they are saying, for example, I heard that children are failing JAMB, or WAEC. So if you say, okay, people are failing WAEC, if I create a solution or an algorithm to teach students to pass WAEC, and in my own something to be 90% pass rate, instead of the national 40-something% pass rate, that way I created a solution, and by creating that solution, that problem that I created a solution for has now become my stepping stone. And the shortcut that has brought me to greatness and to prominence that I would have just been waiting for otherwise, or that I would have even dreamt of even having in the first place. Yes,
exactly. So, and the fact that when issues, like for instance now, the point of education now, like the example you gave, sir, the reason when things like this happen, actually I must confess, because in Nigeria, if we should hear news like this, we don't think of solution. We think like it's like an outbreak, like something tragic, something that shouldn't have happened. So rather than us thinking of how to overcome it or how to face it, and how to see that, oh, this is an opportunity for us to even learn or to read more and and get the excellent result, or this is an opportunity for the government to review the syllabus to see why are people failing. Is it that they were destined to fail, or is it that we should just look at what kind of education, what has gone wrong? That is the first step, rather than saying that, oh, why did this happen? We shouldn't even waste time on what has happened.
So the normal reaction in Africa, in Nigeria, is that we begin to raise alarm.
Alarm, yes. And we asking questions, why did it happen? It shouldn't have happened.
And we begin to blame everybody.
Everybody, yeah. Blaming the students, blaming the teachers, blaming so many things.
And blaming the government especially.
Government especially, yes, sir.
So what we do, whenever any problem arises, like people are failing WAEC, everybody begin to talk about, the country is bad, everything is bad, people are failing, people cannot. So we are panicking, we are raising alarm, we are, just causing more problem. We're aggravating the problem instead of approaching it from the solution perspective. That's what you are saying.
Yes. Yes, sir. And also with respect to this story, sir, this is my own personal experience about WAEC. The school I actually finished from, in the whole of Lagos State, there was a year that WAEC actually gave them a recognition and gave them recommendation. And this is because I finished from the school. So I actually understand the system. This was what the school came up with, the principal and the owner of the school. When it comes to the important topics like maths and English, like for instance now, in maths, our math teacher then in final year actually did something. We solved. He made sure that for the whole of SS3, we could solve 1,006 questions. And now the 1,006 questions comprises of all the repeated questions, the system in which WAEC will the system they adopt in setting their questions. So on the day of our WAEC, we're already familiar. The only thing we just noticed in the question is that they only changed figures. The format was still the same. So now the pass rate, the results are in the school, even before I joined the school, and even after I joined the school, is that the least student will have minimum of B in mathematics. In short, every year it's either A. 90% of the students will have A and the rest will have B. The same approach, the same system was also adopted to other subjects, other courses. So this was what WAEC discovered, because there was a time they actually suspected the school. They actually thought that maybe they were doing some malpractices and all those things. So they came to invigilate one day, and they just bombarded the school, and they saw that the whole exam was so peaceful. There was nothing, and they saw that the students were so busy solving questions. So they had to even review the theoretical aspect and saw that the way and manner each student actually solved each question was so different. And they all arrived at the same answer. So it wasn't as if they were taught in the exam hall. So the principal and the proprietor, they sat down and they actually told the teachers that were in charge of the final year students to go and study. They get all the past questions. In fact, from SS2 to SS3, the only question the school sets as school exam is WAEC questions. They don't set any other question. So they also saw that as a solution to making every student in that school have an excellent result. And within a year, sir, the influx of students in that school was beyond imagination, because parents now started bringing their children to this particular school I'm talking about, where I finished from.
So the school became prominent.
The school became prominent in no time, not just within the community or within the area. Now, WAEC now actually wrote published in a newspaper, Punch, that the school is actually took the fourth position in the whole of schools in Lagos State.
So they became prominent in no time to all over the
in no time
to the whole nation.
Yes, sir.
Now, but if you want to be prominent now, it is easy because you know that formula. So if I were you, maybe not you, but anybody that is dealing with school, I could just say, I could give you solution to all the schools in Nigeria. And that's the problem with WAEC. They are just giving newspapers something and commendation to a particular school. Because in Nigeria, individualism is too much. So everybody is just commenting the particular school. But what they are supposed to do is to set up a system so much that all schools in Nigeria, in village or the village of villages, we use the same formula of using WAEC papers and WAEC exams as the examination for their students from class 3 to upward. And can you imagine if every school in Nigeria, in the villages, everywhere, will adopt that system for every subject? Then we'll be having, 70-80% pass rate.
Pass rate, not even 70-80%, sir, because the illustration you gave, sir, we can actually achieve 100% pass rate. But I now notice that in Nigeria now, for instance, in Nigeria, people just want to be concerned about some individuals, and probably maybe for some selfish reasons or whatsoever. But in the case of my school, it was so obvious that they just knew how to get things right, how to just give solutions to that particular problem. Because I could remember we wrote a series of exams in the same WAEC format before the actual WAEC itself. So even when I wrote the same exam outside my school, the same result I achieved in my school, I also achieved it outside my school. It was the same WAEC.
Why did you need to write it again?
Yes, sir. That's an important question, sir. Because then the time I was expecting, I already had an admission. So my parents, they were just being skeptical that what if I don't make any of those papers? So I should register for. There is what we call GCE, the November-December exam. And before the actual WAEC result will come out, this exam date would have already been would have commenced. So they were just like, okay, not to just put all my eggs in one basket. Let me just write it, even though I never wanted to write the exam. But I was just forced to go and write the November-December exam because they were just like, what if? But at the end of the day, I even saw that the same result I could achieve in my school was what I achieved external at the external center. So it was just the same thing, because I was already, this system has been built in me, because the way and manner the WAEC sets their questions, if one can actually take time, if they can actually take time to study 10 years, 10 years from this year, 10 years backward, and see the format. It's so difficult for most exam boards to change format, because they will have to go and review everything over again. But for Africa, as an example, for instance, now they don't have that time to even do those kind of things. So it's so easy for people to get over the barrier of WAEC failure.
Okay, let me tell you the way people have done it in America. In America, there is something they call, I forgot what they call it, but it is the medical board. Maybe you know it. The medical exams for you to be able to practice in America.
United States medical license exam.
Yes, the United States medical license exam. You know, a lot of people fail it.
Yes, sir.
And everybody is aware that people fail that exam a lot. Even Americans fail it. So because of that, there is a group of people who came together and formed their own school.
Yes, sir.
They call it Kaplan, yes. The Kaplan people, they form up this Kaplan, and what they do in the Kaplan is that they get all the exams, all the formats, and the answers, and the exam that had ever taken place for the past 25 years in that, medical exam something. And they put that together, and that is what they use to teach people for 6 months. Or something, and they make them to be giving exams every week before that 6 months.
Every week.
So they practice so well that by the time the exam comes, they know exactly how much they will get, what their result will be before in the real exam itself. Because they have given the exam so many times, and the result they are getting consistently is what they will exactly get the same thing at the final exam. So what I'm saying is that the Kaplan people, they now use that as a way to get it. Now they are prominent in all the countries of the world. Everybody wants to go through Kaplan.
Everywhere, all over the world.
Yes. Why? Because they have created a solution for the problem that the whole world is looking for, how to pass America's exam. But the same thing, I think somebody who has brain should go and create. For example, if I had been in that school where you finished, I would have set up a system, a different system apart from the school, teaching and writing, or teaching, inviting every school, not just in Lagos State, but all over Nigeria, and giving them the guarantee that we have a system that will make you to have 100% pass rate or 90% pass rate in your school, no matter the subject. So that is the same Kaplan, set it up, or just to, even if the schools we don't want, we could make the announcement to the parents that your children, let them be going to their schools, but they could be coming here for the extra classes or extra schools on weekend or something like that. We will make them to pass the exams. So that is forming a system and broadcasting it, promoting it, making it available to the whole country. That way, we could, they are going to shoot themselves into the place of prominence immediately, because they have solved that problem that the country is worried about.
Yes. Sir, I also want to share with you one practical thing that I learned from this book, and I have already done, and which I can even send you a copy of it. Now, this same on this exam thing and failure. For some last year in my school, it was recorded that a lot of students failed exam. So, and I failed the first CROC, the first license exam. So we do right in year 3. So I now saw that in my city, nobody is just, even in the whole of Ukraine, nobody is actually thinking about anything. And rather churches are just hosting programs. And since I stopped going to church for some time now, I just go once this year. Since this year, I just went once. So now, and when I went, it's still the same old story. So that nothing has actually changed.
Nothing has changed.
Nothing has changed.
No need to try to be wasting your time when you have something to do.
So what I now did was this. I now actually meet some of my colleagues that are very good with, that are so studious. And these are guys that actually had the best results when they wrote their own, when they wrote the same exam. So I now gave it, sir, I now developed a system of 10 years. So from 2017 to 2007. So I gave each one of them
10 years backward.
10 years backward. So I gave each one of them one year to help me. I begged them. I said they should please, that this is, I actually convinced them. I said this could be their contribution to these people, that even though I discovered that these guys, they might not even see the solution in themselves. They might not have thought of something like this, but I could think about it and making good use of my friends and my colleagues.
Because you have read the book.
Because I've read this book. So what I just did was I just approached them, and if I approached the association, the Nigerian Student Association in my city. I also told them that, okay, this is what I'm coming up with. Now I'm actually doing it under a Christian organization, just to give, just as like to just make the organization and the associations also prominent. So one of my friends, I've already solved. She did 2017 with explanation. Now this is what I told them. I said, now the answers are already online, so they could get the answers. But what I want is, why was this the answer? So if you can just give a short explanation on why they chose this as their answer. So this could be a guide for students to see that most of the answers that were picked were not actually picked because of some guesswork, but they actually had reasons. And also to highlight the markers, the main points in the question, and why that answer was the best answer that was what I was chosen. So this is what I now came up with. So I now said that by the end of first week in April, I will release the whole question and answer to everyone in Ukraine.
But so that they can. It doesn't have to. It shouldn't be free. It has to be, because it's a lot of work has gone into it. It has to be for sale. Number one. Number two, it's not just for sale. You could also be doing training and seminars for people who want to, in different cities, who might want to not just get the book, but also get those, to be trained and because I know people in Ukraine also who are doing that. They are doing classes and that is how they are sponsoring themselves. Their financial school fees. They are paying their school fees by actually giving classes to their juniors and sometimes to their classmates.
Yeah, but the challenge I actually saw with that is the fact that churches, most of these people, they are being occupied with programs. Churches are always, because we also tried, because me heading a Christian medical organization here, each time we organize seminars to educate people on some important topics, we just see that people don't just come out because it's either they have their churches have a program at that set period, or maybe because of school schedule. So the challenge actually is the fact that most churches here, they just fix programs, every loophole, every opportunity, every holiday like this, they fix programs for it. So people coming out, and because of the weather again, I noticed that most internationals, they give excuse of the weather is cold, they can't come out and all those things. So that was actually why I now came up with this whole idea that if I give them the answer, then they can now go and do their own personal research and even see for themselves. And it will be like a guide for them. Because
it has to be for sale. Because if you do it for free, then you are only helping those ones who are going to be around now. But if it's going to be for sale, it's going to be there forever.
Okay, sir.
And for people who will still be coming the next 10, 20 years, but the book will always be available. Even before they get to medical school, they can still already have the book.
Yes, sir. Okay, yes, sir. So that is one thing I actually came up with. The one idea that came to my mind after reading this book, sir. So it's something that I just started thinking of solutions. So practically after reading this book, I concluded that there is no problem actually that even if I don't have the solution, there are people that have the solution. Approach them. They might not even know that they have the solution. But you just educating them and letting them see that, they actually have the solution to, because there was also one example you gave in this book about what are our electrical engineering students, what are they doing in university for 4 years, and they cannot come up with the modern day modern day electricity. In fact, where we won't be seeing poles in the streets anymore, and we won't be seeing cable wires running across each street. That what have they been doing? That why can't they just come with an idea that will just, that will just transform the whole society? So these are the things that these were the things that stories that were actually challenging me, and I was like, wow. Then it is high time at every point we must always think of solution to any problem whatsoever. And the first example that you gave in the introduction of this book, this particular book, is the Zulu village, about the young girl and the poor father. You actually said the story was so interesting that I was like, wow, because when I read the story actually goes thus. This girl, the father of this young lady was owing a rich man, and this rich man is actually so ugly. But because the father couldn't refund the money he borrowed from the rich man, so the rich man requested that, okay, if you can't pay me, then you should give me your daughter. And okay, even though it might look so kind of harsh, but okay, I have a test. So, and the test was that, okay, I will pick two balls, then one of it will be black and the other one will be white. But if your daughter picks the white one, then definitely after picking the white one, she won't have to marry me, and she won't have to you won't have to return the money. But if she picks the black one, then she will have to marry me, and also you won't have to pay me back the money. So the daughter now saw that the old rich man, ugly man, actually picked two black balls, or pebbles rather. Pebbles. So pebbles, yeah. She saw that the old rich man picked two pebbles, and she was like, wow, this is actually a tough situation, because if even anyone I pick, I will have to marry this man. So what she did was the fact that when she picked it, she actually fell and threw it somewhere, and now said that, okay, since she now told the people that she can't find it anymore, so definitely whatever, they should now check the container and see which color is there. So when they checked the container and they saw that it was black that was there, so she now said, definitely if it's black that is inside this container, then definitely the one I picked and threw away or got missing was definitely the white. So this was how she saved herself and saved her father. So even though her situation was so complex, because even when I was reading the story, I was like, wow, how would she do it?
Very hopeless.
And very hopeless, because even when I was reading the story, I was like, wow, this is really an hopeless situation, because she can't even raise an alarm that she saw the old rich man picking two black pebbles, but rather she just had to thinking outside the box, which you actually made mention towards the end of this book. You said the fact that we need to engage our mind, we need to just think outside the box. We need to just think of, no matter what, the first thing when we are faced with any problem, whether individually or as a collective problem, is not just to spend time on that problem, but immediately think of solution. Even if you can't come up with a solution, approach people that you know that we can come up with a solution. Think outside the box. Make sure that a day won't pass without we not solving a problem.
And yes, go ahead.
So, and that if only we can, if at every point we can actually think of, okay, providing solution. You actually gave I need to also start giving the points I really got from this book. From chapter 1, you really, I just loved your approach about you addressing the word problem itself. Because as in our religion, as Christians, we just think we attach problem to the devil a lot. And Christians, generally all over the world, believe that they are the ones that actually have problem. We don't even know that the world itself is problematic, that everybody has problem. So it's not you being a Christian that is making you to have a problem. No, the world itself, you now even gave statistics of the problem in the world today. You said, okay, that 22,000 children die each day due to poverty. Now, does that have to do with just Christians or Muslim or atheists? Every children, whether they are Christian, whether they are Muslim. Now, you also said that for 1.9 billion children from the developing world, there are, number one, it says 640 million without adequate shelter. 400 million with no access to safe water.
And it doesn't matter if they are Christians or they are not Christians.
It doesn't matter if they are Christians or if they are Muslims or if they are whatever.
The world is full of problems.
The world is full of problems. Like the world itself is so full of problems that it's not that you giving your life to Christ or the way with so much elevated problem above God.
Or Satan Satan is attacking you. I mean, it doesn't even. It doesn't even have to be because of you. Everybody is having problems.
Everybody is having problems.
Relax.
So yes, you now said that it is high time we need to relax and see that we are not. No one is immune to problem.
Problem is part of life. It is part of life.
Problem is part of life, and problem is there for us to solve.
And it is our own way to elevation.
It's our own way as Christians, the kind of mind, the kind of gifts God has given to each and every one of us, that it is our own way. For it is an opportunity for us to attain prominence, to be significant at any level. And we also don't need to be a politician. We also don't need to. You don't need to be a politician or to be so influential before you start thinking of, oh, what solution can I bring to this particular problem? You made it clear that everybody can actually solve one problem or the other. So,
our main assignment in life is to dedicate ourselves to looking for problems to solve. And the more problems we solve, and the more important the problem, the more complex the problem, the more prominent we become.
Yes, sir. So you also made it clear again, that the problem now is our attitude. The main issue is our attitude towards problem. And now I now saw that this is actually the reason why, even in Africa and even in Nigeria, the reason why we are where we are today, and nobody is actually thinking of. Even before I read this book, I never saw problem to be as insignificant as this, because you made problem to be so insignificant, and you made it to look like it's not something to be worried about. It's not something that should even give you any fear. That we don't even need to entertain fear. And most people's attitude to problem is fear, and that is where we fall under the level of we not being achievers, and we just come to this earth and just live like that. So most people in this world, including myself, our first attitude to problem is fear. And when we entertain fear, you made it clear that when we entertain fear, we suspend the use of our mind. We subdue the capacity, the strength, the mind of Christ in us. So you made it clear that we won't even think of, our mind will not even think of solution. Rather, we'll be thinking of the nearest, we'll be thinking of escape routes. And our escape route should only be solution, and not to run away from problems. And knowing fully well that every problem has the potential to make each and every one of us to be significant and to be prominent in no time.
So can you now understand the problem in Nigeria? Why any little thing that is happening in the country, everybody is just making noise.
Talking about it.
Maybe you now understand why I did that problem, my attitude to herdsmen killings. And
yes,
and I said the main problem we're having as a country is that panicking, where opportunists are taking advantage of it, the politicians. Their own thing is to escalate stuff, to make them
and condemn one party.
Yes, condemn one another, to blame one another, to just be saying, why should you, Mr. President, why do you allow that to happen? They don't even know this approach we are talking about at all. And the whole country begins to panic and begin to curse one another, hate one another, angry with one another. And when I now came out and I was talking about the headsman situation, that our attitude should be different, everybody got annoyed. Because they're not used to it.
Oh. As in, and sir, to be honest with you, sir, I just one thing I discovered in your books and in your teaching is that everything should be approached with love. Now, the understanding I got from this book alone, at the end of the day, I just saw that there was actually nobody to hold responsible for anything.
Yes. Never blame anybody for anything.
Never blame anybody for anything. That we the blame mentality or the blame mindset is as a result of we entertaining fear or we even thinking that we don't even have a solution at all. We are not even seeing ourselves as solution givers. Rather, we are seeing ourselves as victims. So we are playing, most of the time we play the victim card. And that is the reason why we always...
And when you play the victim card like that, you come under the power of the problem. The problem becomes more superior to you.
Yes, sir. So instead of people just saying things, because number one, one thing I just saw is that anytime any problem arises, I don't even want to even think of who caused it or who is responsible or no. I just want to say, okay, if some people can actually get it right, then I would just have to look for, okay, who has, because there is a Yoruba adage that says that it means that there is nothing new under the sun. So anything that is happening presently has already happened in the past. Anything that anyone is going through is not that the person is going through it for the first time, or it's not the first person going through it. So definitely some people have gone through it and they've come out of it. Now the question is, how did they get out of it? What made them come out of every problem? So instead of us thinking of how to just hold people responsible, or how to blame ourselves or blame our family, blame our country, why can't we just come up with solutions? For instance, when I was reading this book again, I also got an idea of the way our streets in Lagos, for instance, is so dirty, it's not that clean compared to some places here in Europe.
Yes.
Yeah, and in America also. So then I now ask myself, is it that most of our leaders, is it that when they travel out, is it that they walk on the streets of Europe or on the streets of America with their eyes closed? Because it's like they only came here, they didn't even notice anything. So now I now saw that, okay, why is it that our streets are so dirty?
But but I will tell you that they come to Europe, they see that it's clean, but they don't know what to do. If you have not read this book, you too have seen it before now, that it's different. Yes. But you will not know how to fix it when you get home.
At all.
You see, that's the difference. They could be coming to Europe, but until somebody gives them the know-how, the principles and the formula, they will not know what to do.
So, and I also want to recommend this way, that any effective political leader or any leader whatsoever, even church leaders, to please get, because there are a lot of stories you actually gave in this book that really explained how to be a solution giver and a problem solver. So when people, I just thought of, okay, what about the idea of the waste management thing? What about youth? Youth that are, most of the time, youth, we complain that we have there's no employment. There are job opportunities. Even in that dirty area. We're just coming up with, an idea of how to just pack all the debts alone. And charge them. Tell them to pay. Even if, there was something I saw in this book that he said that, I think it was a story of Singapore. They said that, is it that we get a low-paid job or not, or we have no job at all? That which one are we going to prefer? Is that to go with a low-paid job or have no job at all? So we are complaining of unemployment in Nigeria. Can our youth even embrace the fact that, can they even embrace the idea of getting a low-paid job and start from there?
Yeah.
So, but I now saw that the problem we have now is the dream big problem. Everyone wants to work with oil company. Everyone wants to work with a big organization. Everyone wants to collect, want to be getting a 6-figure, a 7-figure, salary, and the ideas and a 8-figure salary. So that is the product. But people are not saying now that we can actually we can definitely collect that 8-figure and 6-figure salary if we decide to start giving solutions to problems like this.
Yeah.
So the story of Washington, George
Washington Carver, George Washington Carver.
Yeah, George Washington Carver. That it transformed the whole Southern American economy by just inventing 100 products from peanuts alone. Now, there was something I discovered about this guy. The guy is actually a scientist. So his knowledge was not just limited to just mixing of chemicals and discovering different kind of reactions, but rather it took his knowledge. He was thinking outside the box by taking products and saying, what if I break this product down? What finished products can I get? So this was how he was able to produce 100 products from just peanuts alone. So he was not just doing a science research for the fun of it, but he was thinking on how this science research can provide solution.
Experiment. He was doing experiments. Yes.
He was doing experiments. So that was how he came up with products like plastics, like paints, like dyes, and so many other products. So when I actually saw this, I was not like, it is high time we as students, we need to quit this survivor mentality, and which is the mindset most of us do have when we finish from school. We just want to get employment and not even thinking of solution at all, but we just want to get a job.
Because most of the impression people in our country have is that education is for you to survive. It's for you to get a job and be making a living. But really, education is supposed to prepare you to bring solution. Education is supposed to make you a solution provider. Anybody that is a solution provider is the only one that is educated. Someone that is not able to be a solution provider is not educated. But someone that is looking for a job is not educated. Only someone who could be a solution provider is educated.
And also, thank you, sir. And also, the story of Malala, the girl that stood for girls' education and got shot by the Taliban. This particular story really inspired me a lot, and I was like, if this young girl can give this kind of solution in that kind of condition, where Taliban, where they actually shot her in the head and she survived. So, but Nigeria, we really don't have much people giving us, or maybe threatening us about our education on why are we educating people, why are there schools everywhere, why can't people just go to farm? We don't even have that kind of problem. We don't even have anybody giving us death threats or anything. But yet, our education is still nothing to write home about. And I now saw that this lady, this young girl, because of the fact that she saw the importance of education in herself, and she saw that she actually now came up with, she now thought that if education can be this useful to her, then why do we have other girls in that kind of environment not getting the same education? So that was where she stood, and she insisted that every child girl must be educated. And this now became a threat to the Taliban, and that was why they went after her. But even when she was shot, she came out of it. She still insisted, and that was when she got the Nobel Peace Prize. What she did was to even dedicate the whole money to start funding every organization that are seeing into child education. Even to the extent that she's actually, I also read in the book that she's even funding an organization in northern Nigeria to help them train and train girls in school.
Yes.
So because of just this outstanding and giving solution to education alone, made her to be so prominent.
And she's still only about 18 years old or like 20 years old or something.
20 years old.
Yes.
So, and I now discover now that, I now concluded that I think one of the things that we will face in our society today is the fact that the love factor is not there, and that we were not, the lack of love is in the society. And this is the reason why most of us are not even thinking towards this direction. Most of us don't even see that we've been privileged to be educated or to be outside Europe, or let's outside Africa or in Europe or in America, is actually for us to be a solution provider and a problem solver. But most of the time most of the time we find ourselves thinking just for ourselves and for our family.
Yeah.
And I think this is one thing that you really are made it so clear that everybody is potentially the way God has created each and every one of us, that we are actually potentially a problem solver and a solution giver. So nobody should, even including myself, I should always, every day of my life, I should always think of what solution can I give. Even if I don't have the solution at hand, can I just approach people, or look, I'll search for solutions. So this is one thing. This is one mindset, one great mindset I really got from this book, that no one has an excuse of not providing any solution or not giving any solution to any problem. And in chapter 3, you also said something about the survivor mentality. And like I made mention, and this is the trap. This is the trap that most of us in this generation, this is the trap that most of us will find ourselves, the survivor mentality. We all just think that we are here in this world just to survive. We are not even here to conquer anything at all. Rather, and we're forgetting the fact that we are here on earth to subdue.
Instead of to survive.
Instead of surviving. And you also said that, he said, if the problem has a name, you are not to run or avoid it. Every problem has a name. So we need to come together and sit and think of what solution can we give. And there was something I did accidentally, which I did accidentally before reading this book. That was years back when I was in Nigeria, still on education about failure rates. So then in my medical school in Nigeria, they actually told us that for us to qualify for the second year, they only need a particular number, which is 30. Even if we are 60 in first year, they only need 30 students to make it to second year. So, and they know that the system on ground then in the institution is that the system will actually make a lot of people to fail. So what I did was, just because I was in the university before, so I understood that when I got to the university, some students do go for tutorials and do have tutorial classes and on all these courses. So I now contacted some of my guys that we were in one department before. So I now approached them. I told them about this. I said they should please come and assist me in giving tutorials to my colleagues in medical school on subjects like chemistry and physics. So at the end of the semester, our result was beyond excellence. Yeah, like it was so, like the HOD of the biology department actually called me out and said that he didn't know what I did, but he said that this guy must be given an award this year, that all the medical students that wrote this biology course, he was just seeing A and B, A, B, A, B, A, B, A, B. That less than 5% of them had C. So he now called me after the lecture. He now said, what did I do? I just said, no, the only thing I did was just to get my friends that have been on campus and just get them to solve the handouts and the exam questions, and that was just all. And we're having tutorial classes. So I didn't even, so it was when I now read this book, I now saw how significant and how important what I did then was. I never knew, but I just did it out of love, or out of the fact that I had friends that could just give tutorial classes. But I never knew that things like that are what make people to be so important and so prominent. And these are things that God requires each and every one of us to do on earth. So it was when I now read this book, I now saw that, God now reminded me of that particular period. And I thought, oh, so what I actually did was to give a solution, but I never knew. So if I had known, if I had read this book, then I would have even done a lot and more and more and more. So this book really opened gave me the right mindset and the art of love. Even from this book, aside the fact that it talks about how to be prominent, this book, if only people can if only people can understand what we are discussing today, they will see that there is this art of love embedded in this book. Because it is only a man that thinks of love will think about solution. Nobody comes out with solution without not having the art of love, the mindset of solution. It is love that bets solution. Some people just think that things cannot continue this same way. And out of love, they are already thinking of how to give solution to the society. And when they think of giving solution to the society, they become prominent. So the chapter 4 chapter 4 basically now said we need to just secure our place in history. We could secure, even as a nation, even in our world, in our nation, in our country, in our community, we need to secure our place. In the hearts of people, we need to secure our place in the place of history. You also gave examples of what Bill Gates, Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King.
They secure their place only thanks to problems.
Only thanks to problems, and only thanks to the solution that they gave to every problem.
Yeah.
So you actually said that, you said greatness will still be far-fetched until we all decide and devote our wealth, our time, resources to solving one problem or the other.
Yeah.
Solving problem, conquering challenges, finding answers to every problem is what gives you a sense of living, and give me as a person a sense of living.
Yeah, that's that's the only thing that makes life worthwhile. The desire to solve problems and the ability you have developed in yourself. That's why we go to school, to be able to develop the ability to solve problems.
Yes, sir. Yes. That point is real. That point must always be emphasized, because most of the time we think that the reason why we go to school is just to get a degree and to just look for one place to start working. But rather, we should be thinking, even there is no course whatsoever. The world is actually in need of whatever education we have now. So you also made mention of the fact that religion reduces us when it does not challenge us to go and resolve problems. And I think that is one thing that has destroyed the modern day Christianity. Because we actually, for me, for instance now, because even before I read this book, I actually don't think of even giving solutions like that, because I just see that probably it's not my responsibility.
That's what people think in Nigeria most of the time. That it's not their responsibility.
Yeah, it's not their responsibility. But after reading this book, I now discovered that if it's not my responsibility, it is whose responsibility? The same way God created me is the same way God created the person that actually came up with that solution. So if he has put that solution in that person, then definitely he has also put a solution in me.
Yeah.
So it is high time it's high time I get up and start thinking of how to give solution to problems. And there was one thing I read in one of your books. You said something, you said, rather than we causing the darkness, why can't we start becoming the light? When I read that point, I was like, wow, this is really mind-blowing, because most of the time, as Africans and as Nigerians, most of the time we just cause a lot. We just cause things, cause people, cause government, say this, as if our president is the cause. We just want to just cause and cause. So when I read in that book, in one of your books, I think it was a book talking about prayer. And so I think it was a book talking about prayer and when to pray, when not to pray, and when to stop praying. So when you now said, rather than we causing darkness, because everybody doesn't like darkness, so we are prone to just cause darkness. So why can't we become the light?
Yeah.
So now, we becoming the light in this world, in this generation, is providing solutions to problems.
And that solution we provide will now become our shortcut.
Our shortcut to prominence.
To prominence, yes.
You also gave about the story of Joseph. You also said something about the story of Joseph and the fact that, I never understood that story, even though I can't count the number of times, I've actually read about the story of Joseph, when he was in Potiphar's house, and blah. So, but the understanding you gave me with the story of Joseph, I have never had that kind of understanding. So when you now made it so clear that, do we know that it was Joseph's right attitude to problems? And not just that alone. The reason why Joseph became so prominent and like a prime minister in Egypt was not because, like we've been told most of the time in church, that, God just had, God loves Joseph and God just brought him out and made him, he was favored by God. But rather, you said that it was because Joseph had a solution in his hand. And his solution is interpretation of dreams. This was the same dream that made his brothers to sell him. Sharing his dream with his brothers, those ones became envious. And the only thing they could think of was to sell him. And they sold him to was it Potiphar?
Yeah, to Egypt.
To Egypt. So when he got there, it was when he had problem with the master's wife that he ended up in prison. And when he was in prison, the cupbearer and the chief cook that used to give that used to serve, they also had a dream, but they never understood the interpretation of the dream. So because Joseph was there, and Joseph was able, because he had a solution in his hand, and you made it so clear to us, you made it so clear to me in this book that God has given us a solution.
Yep.
We just need to look for it.
Yep.
So this was the same solution he gave to their dream, because their problem was that they couldn't interpret the dream. And the dream interpreter was actually right there in the prison. So what he did was just give them the right thing. And the way he said it was the exact thing that happened. And this was what made the cupbearer to now remember that, when Potiphar now had the dream, I know of one man. I think he's good at interpreting dreams. Go and call him. So Joseph was not sent for because God actually, the general mindset that God just favored him. It was his time. The way they used to tell us in church that it was his time. When your time is now, then that is when God will just open heaven and, your time. So, but rather, he was called upon because he had a solution in his hand. Yeah. And the same thing he did was what he repeated. He also gave the right interpretation of the king's dream. And this was what made the promise of God in his life to come to pass. So if we all want to discover who God has created us to be, according to what you wrote in this book, then we must start thinking of how to give solutions to every problem. This is the point This is the point where God is going to meet each and everyone, and we will now see the glory of God in us. So when you also illustrated the story of Singapore, how Singapore from Third World to the First World in just one generation. So you also made it so clear that the fact that even though these people went, even after the Second World War, even after the fact that the government, the whole of Asian government, they rejected them, nobody wanted to help them, and they were without natural resources. They didn't have anything, but just turned to one man, which was Lee Kuan Yew, who actually said, there was one quote I also remember. I think he said in that I read in this book. He said, he made mention of the fact that no, the world does not owe us anything. so when I read that quote, I was like, because I love words like that, because it is high time we start holding ourselves responsible. So it was like until all of us now get on our feet and become a solution to the problem we have now. So what he did was to call other co-leaders, and this was how they were able to transform. This was how the story of Singapore changed to the point that the world's #1 airline is in Singapore. They have the best airport, the busiest port of trade, and now to even wrap it up is the world. They now have the 4th world highest per capita income, and this is the same. I also read in this book that Singapore got their independence 1965. 5 years after Nigeria had their own independence, and they were both colonized by the same British government. And look at where Nigeria is today. Look at where Singapore is today. And you said, thanks to the fact that Singapore embraced globalization, free market capitalism, education, and strict pragmatic policies. So when me seeing stories, because you actually gave, I want to tell people to get this book, and they will see practical stories. These are true stories.
Makes the book makes the book practical.
Yes, so they should get this book and see for themselves that it's not fiction. It's not something that someone does. These are true stories. These are practical steps to be a solution giver and to be a problem solver. So chapter 6, when you were now talking about that, each and every one of us must start becoming the good news. We need to see that we need to see ourselves as we having the human ability to provide answers. Now, one story that you also wrote in this book is the story of Harriet Tubman.
Yes.
The slave who saved other slaves.
Yes.
One thing I just want to tell our viewers about this lady is the fact that she was a slave for so many years. But the moment she got her freedom, she determined to do what? Not just to run away for her life and start a good life, but what she did was to rescue other slaves. And her mission was that out of the people that she wants to rescue, that none of them, not even one person, will be missing or will die. So I was now asking myself now that this kind of mindset, because I can't just imagine a slave. Because from the few stories I've read about slavery, it's not something that is something that is so bad to the point that it affects people's psychology, it affects people's mind. So now for a slave to now think, after she was freed, after the death of her master, now the moment she got her freedom, now she was not even thinking of herself alone. Now the only thing that came to her mind was to do what? Was to use the opportunity, those to go back and rescue other slaves, and she successfully rescued 70 slaves. And because of that, she became prominent. The same thing about Rosa Parks, the lady that stood against racial discrimination.
In total, she rescued actually 1,000 people, and she also said that if she would have rescued another 1,000 if only that the other slaves didn't believe that they were slaves. If that she would have rescued another 1,000 if the other people have believed that they were slaves. They thought they were okay.
Wow. So another story what you also made mention about we becoming the good news is the story of Rosa Parks, the lady that stood against racial discrimination.
Yeah.
And that when she was in the bus and she was told by the driver to stand up for a white man, and she said no. And this was what led her. She was arrested, and before you knew a revolution took place. And because of her, both whites and blacks were given equal rights. So we seeing ourselves as not, I now come to the conclusion that the challenge we have now is the fact that most of us we think of ourselves too much.
Egocentrism,
selfishness. So that is why we don't feel responsible for anybody anymore. And because the world, even for those that have actually stood for something, the people they are actually standing for, they now saw that those people are actually their enemy again. Because no one is even in support of people that are standing for people's rights. So I now saw that this is one of the challenges we are actually facing now. So until we come over egocentrism, until we start seeing that we are actually responsible for one another, then we start climbing the ladder of prominence.
Especially for others, providing solutions for others.
Providing solutions for others. Now, you said something in chapter 7, the topic was that we should now focus more on solution. Our focus should only be on solution and nothing but solution.
But not only solution for yourself, but for other people.
For others, yes, sir. So you actually made it so clear that we need to focus. We need to just focus that whenever we face with any challenge, that our focus should only be on solution. You said one of the points I actually wrote that you said it is true that everyone has a problem. It's because you made it so clear that the world, everyone has a problem because we all have one problem, whether collectively or individual. And it is true that every problem has a solution. If this is the reality of life, then why not let us start focusing on the solutions rather than the problem itself? You also said something about the fact that you now gave the story of Akon lightening Africa. He was more interested in erasing he was more interested in giving solution to the general understanding about Africa. Most people say Africa is a land of darkness, dark people, there is no light, and even people in this Western world, they still cannot believe that there are places on this planet, on this side, that people still live in darkness. But rather than him also joining them and saying, oh, when you go to Africa, Africa is this, Africa is a shithole, Africa is that, But rather, the only thing he thought was to do was to become a solution and to focus on how can I bring light to this part of the world. And that was when he started the Akon Light Africa initiative. So now, looking at all these things alone will now give us the right mindset towards problem, and why we all today should start thinking of giving solutions to problem. And the reason why for instance, now Akon as a musician, most of our parents don't even know who Akon is. And I'm very sure, even I'm very sure you pastor, I'm very sure maybe in those days when he was singing, I'm very sure you never even heard of him.
No, I only started
because you don't listen to.
Yes, I only started hearing about him only 2 years ago.
Only 2 years ago, and I've known Akon for more than 10 years.
You see, I never knew about him.
So now our parents now, Akon is now he's not known for his music now, but he's now known.
I didn't know him for music. I knew him because of the electricity.
Wow. but Akon has been singing for like, I've known him for like 10 years. So now, what I now say about the story, but what I just want to tell our viewers now, for instance, now taking Pastor for example now, he just got to know Akon today, and most of our parents now, they now got to know who Akon is, simply because he decided to give solution or to solve the problem of light in Africa. So now, Akon is not just known just in our own generation alone, but even our parents now, they are now getting to know more about the whole world, even unbelievers, even Christians are now getting to know who Akon is.
Although he's a Muslim himself.
And he's a Muslim.
With 4 wives.
Even believer. With more than 1 wife. I don't know. I know he has many wives.
But 2 or 4 wives, yeah.
4 wives, yeah. But he's known even by Christians. So providing solution to any problem
gives you prominence.
In no time, it's just the shortcut to we becoming prominent and becoming significant in our generation. You know when chapter 7, when you now started giving us these practical solutions on how we can come up with solutions, how we can be solution giver. Now, the most important thing which you made mention in this book is the power of our mind. How do we engage our mind? Our mind is where the whole solution lies. You said something, one point I actually wrote, you said, what makes us different from animals is the fact that we could solve problems and issues. The power of the mind. Mind is so powerful. You said people who use their mind have become prominent, and those that refuse to use theirs have remained mediocre.
Yeah.
You said our mind prepares us to always think outside the box, that we should always engage our mind in thinking outside the box. You made another point. You said something which I wrote. You said many people are unsuccessful in life because they run when they meet the Goliath, and forgetting that there won't be David without the Goliath. And rather than David running, the same fear that Solomon, it was this Saul that was the king. No, it was Solomon.
Saul.
It was Saul, yeah. The same fear that he had was what David never entertained. So David was thinking of how to bring this mighty man, this uncircumcised Philistine, how to bring him down. So he was rather thinking of the solution. He was not even thinking of his stature, of how big he is. He wasn't thinking of that. And thanks to the fact that he was able to confront Goliath. So you also in chapter 10, you now say that we need to expand our capacity to solve problems. It is so important. The reason why I said the key to unlocking solution is locked up in our mind. So the more we engage our mind, the more we think of how we can just engage in thinking of solutions. Okay, what are the ideas? Even if it's a short-term idea, long-term ideas, let's just pen something down. Let us just come up with a solution, come up with an idea, come up with a system, come up with a format, come up with something that will make us to live the level of people that only talks about problem, and rather will place us at that prominent position, at that height that we all deserve. So only if we can begin to expand the use of our mind, So you also said about the fact that we should how we invest, what we invest our mind in is actually the kind of product we give. So investing our mind in books, just the same way I got so many ideas from just reading this book alone. And I now discover that most of the time, the solution they actually give us in church, they are not actually the solution.
Because they are not practical.
They are not practical. And these are things that we just pray, but yet we don't see any results.
But those are not solutions. Those are escapism. It's giving you escape routes, just a way to run away from problems. That's what they give you in church.
So when I now discover that most of the time when they tell us, okay, now the solution, for instance, now most problem we face as Christians, when they tell us in church that we should just pray and pray. There was even one thing I saw yesterday on Instagram. I was like, the pastor was telling the members that whatever problem, that they must just get on their knees. And the way he said it, he didn't even actually explain himself. But it was like, hey, whatsoever the problem is, that just get down on your knees. And I was telling myself that, why will you be saying, and this is a big man of God in Nigeria. I was like, yes, getting on our knees is not actually, but why can't you just begin to tell people on how to think, how to engage their mind in coming up with solutions, in becoming a problem solver. But I now saw that in one of your books that you said something about the fact that our cover-up, that on most of as Christians, we use prayer as a cover-up. Yeah. So when I now remember, so because I read that part in that book, that most Christians, most of the time, we use prayer as a cover-up. And I said, I understand this pastor, I understand him. I now understand the word is coming from. So he just wants to use prayer as a cover-up. Probably he doesn't even know how to practically help people out of their problems. If you don't know how to practically help your members out of problems, how will your church now become a solution giver to the society or to the nation? So, and the last point you gave in chapter 11 was the fact that you now told us that it is never too late. It is never too late for us to start thinking of how to be a solution giver. And there is no age. Yes, you said something about there is no age to prominence. There is no age to prominence. You were talking. You gave the story of the Cocoa Channel founder, the Cocoa Channel, the founder of House of Cocoa, at age 50. That that was when this person came up with the Cocoa Channel and the founder of House of Cocoa. I think her name is, and also you also said something about the KFC man. I think his name is Alan Sanders or so. The KFC recipe, the story of that man.
The Colonel, yeah.
Yeah. So you actually made it so clear that whether young, middle age, and old, we all still have one solution or the other in our hands, and the world is in need of that solution.
What do you think this book, do you think will happen to Nigerians or Nigerian youth or students or even ordinary people if they read this book?
One thing I'm so sure that the first thing before they can actually read this book, because one thing I discovered now is the fact that most of us, we actually don't want to let go of the things that are not working. Like, for instance, now, the mindset, our mindset towards prayer, because, sir, there are a lot of things that will make people not to even think of, number one, reading this book, or even when they read this book, the mindset that they are supposed to get, the right knowledge they are supposed to get from this book, they will still not get it. But I just want to tell people that in Nigeria and in Africa, that when you read this book, when you read this book, the next thing, the only thing that you will think of is number one, you will definitely overcome the power of fear that problem has created in you.
Yeah.
You will now see that you are not even different from every other person that has other problems. So why make a big deal out of your own problem when you are not the only one passing through problem? When the whole world itself is in chaos. So the number one thing they will learn is that problem
is not a big deal.
It's not a big deal at all. So if for people on this platform, if you now see that problem is not actually a big deal, then another thing that you are going to get from this book is the practical steps to overcome any problem whatsoever. And also, remember that when you start getting the practical steps, you are already on your road or on your way to become prominent and become significant in your society. So, and also, you giving solutions to problem will liberate you financially, which I think most people in Africa and in Nigeria, I'm very sure that they want this kind of thing, because everyone wants to be financially free. And thanks to problem, which is actually the source of our wealth and the source of us becoming significant and becoming prominent in our society. So any Nigerian that picks this book will start seeing himself, not just existing, but you will start living that true life. You will discover that, oh, so this is what I was originally created for. I never knew this is what God had in plan. I never knew this was God's plan when He created me. You will discover the impossibilities. You will discover that you can actually give solutions. You can actually do a lot of things. Just thanks to the fact that you will definitely learn from this book the right attitude to a problem. Beautiful. And the reason why we are still victims is because we were once victim, or we once had a wrong attitude towards problem.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. You've done. Yeah, you wanted to say something.
Yes, sir. So when you now see, if we can now see that our attitude now is actually the fundamental thing, which is one of the first things anyone that reads this book will get. You start having the right attitude, because when you see problem as it not being a big deal, so before in no time you develop the right attitude, and once you develop the right attitude, solutions will start coming just by going through and reading till the end of this book.
Beautiful. Now this is the book. It's called Prominence. Problems, your shortcut to prominence. I know you have read some other books. What about this one? Yes. Have you read this book?
Why we must urgently become a workaholic. Yes, I've actually read this book. This book, the fact that the work that was actually mentioned was not the work in the secular world, but rather how we must invest our time and our energy in the work, in our purpose itself.
Beautiful.
And which will definitely make us to be prominent, because this book also will definitely make us to be prominent.
What about
now, the mountain of ignorance. Yeah, this book destroyed the religious bigots, and the fact that most times people don't know that where they are today. The reason why they are where they are today is because of what they don't know. So this book actually destroyed a lot of religious a lot of things that religion has actually taught us, most especially Christianity religion. Freedom
from religion.
Then who am I? Yes, this book is one book I would recommend for teenagers, for children, for youth. If you really want to know why God created you.
On time, yes.
On time.
What about this? That one is for teenagers and this one is for older people, eh?
Yes, sir. This one is for older people. About the fact that most of the time, the fact that we don't understand the importance and the usefulness of time, we lose so many years. We've lost our years just doing nothing. And but we are still living, but we are not living. How to regain those years back is what is actually written in this book. Okay.
You did this one. You did the review of this one before.
Yes, how to overcome the fear of death. No, this book is so powerful. You will see death. Anybody that reads this book will see death as nothing. Rather, we'll start preparing for death. And death will not become a tragedy.
Amen.
To us anymore.
What about this one?
Yeah, this book also talks more about time conversion. How the wealth in the world we are seeing today is actually embedded in time. So thanks to people that can actually convert their time very well, and they will see themselves becoming so prominent and successful in life.
What about this?
Yes. This book will give us an understanding of why young people die. Actually, the fact that people see young people when they die, people see it as a tragedy or it shouldn't have happened. But this book will definitely reshape and give us the right mindset on why young people die, and about the story of the martyrs, about the story of the disciples that you also made mention in the Bible, even Jesus Christ himself.
Yes.
Yes, this book talks about no one is better than you. The only reason why we think most people are better than us is because of how they were able to maximize and use their time very well. So time is just the difference. Time management.
Okay. Time conversion.
Time conversion. Now, where there is problem, there is money. Yes, this book is about the fact that when we can give solution to problem, like I said in the review I just did now, that is where money lies. Every problem has money in it. Wow, stop working for Uncle Sam. This book is one book that, at the beginning of this book, there was something I discovered. I felt like most people, if they don't read to the end of this book, they might just end up becoming stranded in life. But this book will make us have the right mindset about the right mind towards the work, our day-to-day job that we are doing, that we are engaged in, and how to make concrete plan to be free from any system that wants to enslave us.
Beautiful. I know you've read more books, but that's good enough. Well, in the next 40 minutes, we are supposed to come back on live. You've done so well. Such a good review. So good.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thanks to you, sir. Thanks for this opportunity, because this book, to be honest, I just want to encourage a lot of people on this platform. Let's start inviting the reading culture.
Yes.
Most of the things that you discuss on the 9 p.m. show, these things are real, but rather than us preparing our mind to embrace the truth, but people still want to continue living in darkness. And reading is one of the things is one of the keys that I've seen that can liberate anyone from the shadow of darkness. So I really want to encourage people to please invest time in reading. Reading of most of all these books are practical. These are books these are things that we will see ourselves side by side with God. We will see ourselves becoming God's image, becoming who we never thought we were created to be. So I really just want to encourage everybody on this platform to please, let's read, let's try and get all these books and educate ourselves. Let us set ourselves free from the bondage of darkness.
Thank you so much. And the way to get the books is to write to dssbooks@gmail.com. dssbooks@gmail.com. Or you could write to, write to dssbooks@gmail.com. Or go to the blog, sundayadelajablog.com/books. Or you could go to Amazon. You could actually read them for free on Amazon. Amazon is, just put my name. Or you could read them for free on Kindle Unlimited. A lot of them are free on Kindle Unlimited. Or you could buy them on Amazon. But it's cheaper for you if you get in touch with, Shioma in Nigeria, or if you get in touch with our office. If you are living in Nigeria, we'll still send you to Shioma anyway. But you could write to DSS Books and we'll tell you where it's better for you to get. So thank you so much, everybody. In the next 20 minutes, we'll get back with you to continue the love series. Blessings. Peace.
Yes.